The point of this video is to showcase like how throughout the years I'm always performing extremely well. I'm regarded a very good player. I don't play the game as much as I could, as I should. I feel like I could even unlock more of myself if I played more. Part of my success is also from the fact that I don't play as much, which means that I can focus more, and that has like kind of shifted my mentality as a player, that I care more about individual games than others. Whenever I load into a game, I feel like I care more about winning than anyone else. Teach you some conceptual things. Some of these things might be like very obvious, and they are, and it's something like, well, duh, but I'm a firm believer in the fact that a lot of people know these things, and it's kind of obvious, but they don't apply any of it to their gameplay. They just don't do it. I want to showcase these things, I want to talk about them, and maybe this will help you guys just manually input them into your gameplay and how you look at the game and what you do in the game, and etc, etc, etc. Start off with who I am. I'm RANGERZX, and I've been playing EU West solo queue in Challenger since Season 7. I used to be a Jax one-trick. I one-trick Jax. I was Challenger on Jax. Then after one-tricking Jax in Challenger for a few years, I got bored, switched to Trinda, got Challenger like instantly. Then had a short stint of one-tricking Darius in Challenger. So I've one-tricked Trinda, Jax, and Darius, and I've played all three at the same time in Challenger for years. But yeah, it's been mostly Tryndamere for years now, and he is my best champion. And I think I'm considered the best at this champ, maybe in the whole world. So yeah, that's me as a player. I'm not going to be talking too much about, I will be talking about like Trinda specifically a bit, but not too much. I'm just going to talk about things that can apply to any role, any player, especially about like top lane. I will be talking about top lane a bit more. And because I think there's things that I use that aren't just like Trinda specific, it's just specific to the game in general, because even though obviously so much of it revolves around what you're playing, what champion you're playing, and what you're capable of doing in a game, and what your role is in the game, so much of it is still knowing the whole game, not just like your champion or role specific things. I think a big important thing in League is it's still a game, and kind of a big goal is to like have fun. And having fun makes you want to play more, and makes you want, like, it motivates you to get better and motivates you to play more. Finding something that is fun and that you're good at is the first step. That's the very first step for you to start winning more, is to just look at this list. I'm not gonna necessarily talk about one-tricking, but just looking at the champion or champions that you find fun, that you find exciting, that motivate you to actually get better. That's the first step. For me personally, it is Tryndamere. That's my thing. But again, you're not to achieve this or to overall get better, no matter what if you're a silver player looking to get gold, you're a gold player looking to get plat, etc, etc. You're not required to play Tryndamere. You can play any role. Again, you need to find something that you find fun and exciting. That's like the very first thing. If you don't know what that is, then you need to go and try different things. You need to play different champs in different roles, and again, see what clicks. These roles have different strengths, and again, go look at the champion and be like, oh, okay, I really like, for example, Aatrox. Then that basically locks you into top lane. But there are like conceptual differences in roles, like top lane plays differently from jungle plays differently from mid and ADC and bot lane or support, etc, etc. So it doesn't necessarily have to be from your champion, because I understand a lot of players don't care as much about what champion they play. Finding your role as well is very good, because in my opinion, if you really want to climb, playing multiple roles will make it harder. At least finding your role is very important. I see a lot of players, people like ask OPGG reviews from me, and they ask me like how to climb and etc, etc. Then I look at their champions played, and they're playing like 3 different roles. And then like the win rates are all over the place. And sometimes it's very obvious that, okay, this player is playing 3 roles, but they are performing so much better in one of those 3 roles, and the other 2 roles are just kind of, you know, maybe even negative in it. They're literally losing more than they're winning on those 2 other roles. Finding at least your role is very, very important, because again, so much of this is me knowing top lane and mid lane. I also play mid lane Trinda, but so much of that is understanding the role itself, not just my champion, or the game in general, like specifically that role. So very, very, very important. Finding what you find fun is the key. Technically, you can always get better. There are power differences between champions, for sure. Some champions are better than others, but everything is good at something. There is no champion in this game that is like not good at anything. So no matter what role or what champ you're playing, you can climb with it. There are some champions who are getting to this like very apex tier. It gets much harder playing against some playing as some champions, because at this level of play, the gameplay starts to be not optimal because everyone makes mistakes everywhere. But it starts to be so high level that the power differences between champions start to matter much more, because people understand how to counter champions. Like when I one-trick Tryndamere, in a lot of these games, if I don't know how to play Tryndamere in a very high level, I would get very countered, and I'll get to that as well, because I'll talk about Tryndamere specifically for a bit. I'll talk about one-tricking a bit, and what's the pros and what's the cons. Pros of one-tricking is, obviously, you learn the in and outs of your champ. That's basically it. That's the pro. So you understand your limits very well, you understand your item spikes, like, okay, I buy this item, now I am this strong, and I can take these fights. So you start to get like a very high understanding of your champion, and that's a huge, huge, massive pro. And that's why we see one-tricking in high elo all the time, even at the very apex tiers, like Challenger, like me. I'm only playing Tryndamere, no other games on other champion. You can just play your champion at high level, and you can push the limits of it so to the, not the very max, because no perfect player exists, but to a very high level at least. The cons of one-tricking are quite severe. No champion is good at everything. There's no champion that is good at legit everything, or if they're very versatile as a champion, they might not necessarily, they might be like okay at everything, but not like amazing at anything. There are some more versatile champs in the game than others, but yeah, I would like to like show an example here, being in a very bad position because of picking Tryndamere. So Tryndamere here is quite unplayable. There is basically nothing I can do this game. I am countered by basically all 5 champions. The only champion here that doesn't extremely hard counter me is Hecarim, but even he, with Phase Rush and the amount of haste there is nowadays in the game, which gives him movement speed and haste, is that he will have such massive amount of ease, so much movement speed, he's so fast in general that like even he counters me at this point. This is just one example of just being limited to one champion. Also, Tryndamere is bad with these champions too, so this is just an example of being in a much worse position in a game to win. I don't think I even played bad this game. I remember this game. I was mid lane. I was doing totally fine against his Orianna. But again, there is just nothing I can do this game. I can't really make myself useful. I can't really play side lane. I can't teamfight. I can't do anything. This is like a con of one-tricking. And there is another con of one-tricking, which is a player might become too reliant on knowing their champion, and they don't like broaden their mind towards the game as much, and they start to just relying on their champion, and that's why there is this general thought that, oh, one-tricks are stupid. And I don't think it's good to like generalize it to that extent, but there are like, it's not even like a false statement. One-tricks, a lot of one-tricks are just stupid, even in high elo. A lot of them are stupid because they are fully like relying on their champion, knowing their champion's limits, and then other aspects of the game, like looking at League of Legends in general in a broad sense, they just don't know. They just don't know how the game actually works and how it's supposed to be played, and they just go through the games and they end up just not fully maximizing their potential in the game. You can see one-tricks, like stupid one-tricks even in high elo, but they are usually just low win rate players. They will spam a lot of games to get there, and they might get to high elo, but then they're gonna like drop out, or if they stay there, they're still like not very impressive, not necessarily getting high LP or whatever. But for me personally, and why I think people hold me at a very high regard, is because even though I one-trick Tryndamere, and Tryndamere is not a respected champion, this is one of the most hated champions in the whole game, but people still hold me in high regard because I think people know that I am not only a good Tryndamere player, I think I'm also a good League of Legends player. I just simply decide to play Tryndamere only because I find him by far the most fun in League. The pros and cons of one-tricking, there are pros and then there are cons. So if you are want to one trick, if there's a champion that you really, really love and don't want to play anything else, make sure to keep an open mind about the game and don't just fully tunnel on your champion and not try to think of the game in like a broader sense. Make sure to like actually think about the game itself. And again, we're still talking about before we even get in game, right? We're still talking about like pre-game stuff. One thing as well is building and runes. I think this is one of the most disregarded things in this game. And I see people that are supposedly good players one-tricking champions, even to like decent elo, like let's say Master Plus. And I look at their build, their items they buy, the runes they go, and they're just, to me, objectively wrong. And I already know just by looking at the build and looking at the data on sites that it's objectively wrong what they're doing, what they're taking in runes, or what items they're building. So my point is this, is that taking proper runes and building correctly is way more important than players give it credit for, because that's what makes you strong. So making yourself as strong as possible individually obviously is going to make the game much easier to play. No matter what role or champ you're playing, you want to buy the best items, you want to have the best runes to make the game easier for you. And the thing about this is an unforgivable mistake, because it is a simple decision with no extra steps. With runes, you just simply press the runes in champion select. You know, that's it. You do this, save, out, and that's it. There it is. So it's that simple. So to me, it's like such an unforgivable mistake to not do this correctly. And if you don't know how to do this, if you don't know this, you can always copy what others do. You can always copy what others do. But again, always take that with a grain of salt. Because like I said, players, even in Master Plus, a lot of players, people that even one-trick champions, do wrong things. Just because someone is good at League does not mean that they are smart about their build and runes. And that makes it a bit difficult for like worse players that don't know what they're doing. I completely understand, because let's say a gold player goes into a Grandmaster one-trick stream and then they just look at what they do. I don't think it's wrong of them to safely assume that the Grandmaster player knows what they're doing, because they are almost at the very highest rank possible. It can be difficult, but I recommend still like looking at other players and still taking it with a grain of salt. Try to think yourself if possible. But one thing I'll say from this, just as a concept in general, in League of Legends, when it comes to like itemization and runes, a lot of things can sound good in your head, and it can even make like logically sense. For example, let's just take like Stormrazor or Tryndamere. It gives AD, attack speed, crit chance, and movement speed on hit. Everything here is great for Trynda, right? On paper, he wants everything. He wants movement speed, he wants AD, he wants attack speed, he wants crit chance. So again, logically, it's a good item. But you will never see me build this item. And that is because there are simply better items. So even though I would like to have this item, if I could simply snap my fingers and get it for free in any game, I would. Because it is good. It's just that it's not good enough. And there are better options. Whatever you buy in League, that could be something else. So let's say you buy Stormrazor. Okay, you got it. But I could have went Kraken Slayer, which is just a much better item. So whenever you buy something, you're basically losing something else that you could have gotten. So again, you can make a lot of items sound good on champions by just, again, looking at Stormrazor and be like, okay, this is a great Trynda item. Yeah, it's not bad, it's just that it's not worth to buy it. So again, take everything with a grain of salt and just understand that everything's a trade-off, basically. There is a site called lolalytics, and this is a great site, and I recommend using this. This gives excellent data. So I'll teach you about lolalytics real quick. So you see average Emerald Plus win rate here is 51.63. So every time you look at any stat anywhere, you always need to compare this win rate to this win rate up here. Okay, so here Tryndamere's win rate is not actually 56%. it is what, 51.66. So you always need to compare this to this, and it also applies to win rates under here. So you can see here that, oh, Tryndamere wins against Jax 51.03% of the time. No. Because look, his base win rate is this high. So in reality, Jax is a terrible matchup for Jax statistically. He is just straight up losing way more against Jax than he wins normally. This site is great because it gives you data on a lot of things, like one item, second item, third item, fourth item. A lot of data, and it gives you data on runes as well. Win rates on runes. So when it comes to itemization and runes, you can always look here and be like, okay, what is good and what is bad? Again, you need to kind of know how to read data. For example, if you look here and look at fourth and third item, like, wow, these win rates are absolutely absurd. How is this possible? And that's because if a Tryndamere gets to his third item, that already means that he's likely winning the game on the grand scale of things. Of course, he can get to his third item and still be in a losing game, but if he gets to his third item, that already means that on the grand scale of things, he's most likely already winning the game. And that causes the average win rate to be very high. So on any champion, if you're looking at late game items, the win rates will be very high on champions. And of course, the number of games also matters here heavily. Here you can see 5 games played of Shield Bash. But Trynda can't even proc Shield Bash. But it still has a 60% win rate, but it's only 5 games. Looking at data is good. Again, data isn't always everything, but it is a strong implication of something being good or bad. Here, for example, I'll take one example here. Legend Alacrity and Legend Tenacity. Alacrity has more games, which means that Alacrity's data is more concrete, but the win rate difference here is so big, and Legend Tenacity has a decent amount of games here. The data is solid on this one too, but the win rate difference is so big. It's over 2% difference here, which is really big. It just shows that Legend Tenacity is simply better than Alacrity in most games. Again, there are some games where I don't do it when they have very low CC. So I'd go Legend Tenacity myself in almost all my games, but there are some games where they have no CC, like this one. So the only hard CC here in the enemy team composition is Scion Q. There are some things, some slows like Janna W slow, and Tenacity would help with that, but I already have Tenacity from this and Slow Resist that I don't really deem it necessary. Legend Tenacity here is really low value because they just basically don't have hard CC. But the thing is that League of Legends has so much CC that Legend Tenacity on Tryndamere is just better in almost all games. So again, to optimize your runes and your itemization, looking at data can be helpful. Looking at better players can be helpful. So getting into game, the first thing that you should learn when you actually get into game, or this can be even like out of game, like even an out of game thing, is like what your mindset is toward the game. This video is obviously for those that want to improve. Again, there's nothing wrong if you just want to chill play and play the game. That's most players in League. But again, this video is just for those that want to win, want to improve, want to have better results in League. And League is a competitive game, and let's be honest, winning is more fun than losing. If any player could decide like, oh, or they ask like, what is more fun, winning or losing? No one's gonna say losing. You know, some people may care less about it, but it's still a competitive game. And no matter how you put it, winning is going to be more fun. And winning is what makes League of Legends fun. It's a very competitive and ruthless game, but to me, winning is fun. Understanding this, again, everyone knows this, like, duh, of course you want to win, but understanding this, truly internalizing this, and starting to actually play to win is something that most players don't do. Like, if I ask a bunch of players, like, do you play to win? And they'll say, oh, yeah, I do. But in reality, they don't. They don't actually fully think this way. And their mindset towards the game isn't fully actually about just winning. And I've like recently I've started to look at some players that are even like pretty good at this game. I look at them play and they talk about that they want to win. But when I look at them play, it really doesn't seem like it. And I'm talking about that they don't know how to win, as in like lack of skill. It's just that to me, mentally, it genuinely does not look like they are actually playing to win. I just think that people don't fully internalize. This is like up to interpretation about like what it means to play to win and what it means to play to improve. To me, they're basically the same thing. I don't really see a difference between the two, because playing to win means that you are trying to do everything in your power to play better, to increase your chances to win. And how else do you improve than doing that? There is one difference here, which means that is taking risks, jumping into the unknown. And here again, I recommend doing this when we're going to learn. But to me, like, the concept of like playing to win and playing to improve is like, it's kind of the same thing, but not really. That's the way I think about it. I think people differentiate the two more than they need to. But yeah, like, playing to win, actually playing to win is important. Maybe just say it to yourself at the start of every game or before every game that I want to win. Say it to yourself like out loud or something. League of Legends, my mindset towards the game is also like, I kind of treat the game in a way as a single player. Not actually as a single player, because it's a team game and I will play accordingly. Like, if my teammates need help, I will help them, and I will always play to the best of my ability in a way that actually maximizes my way to win. But I play a selfish carry, for example. So this applies more to me like than it would be for like support players. But the way, like, conceptually speaking, I play a league as kind of a single player, as in like, I will think of myself as like the king on the chessboard and everyone else is my pawn. My teammates are just there to help me succeed in my goal, you know? And this isn't about like an ego thing, but the whole point of this is that you need to focus on yourself. You can't affect your teammates' gameplay. I think some players have like this mentality of like thinking about trying to beat the whole team and trying to like micromanage and rely too much on their teammates, but only focusing on yourself and the things you can control, just like conceptually, like that is very, very important when it comes to improving and actually getting high rank. So again, this is a very duh moment that obviously this is the case, that you should just focus on yourself and you can't affect how your teammates play, etc, etc. Everyone knows this, but do you fully internalize that, and do you let that, like, does that reflect your gameplay? How you treat the game, how you play the game? And I would say no, most people don't. This is not the case for most people. That's the way I treat League, is that I will focus on myself, and that will not stop me from helping my teammates if that's the best way to win. But focusing on yourself is essential, and that's how you get better, and that's how you win. Next thing is focus. And focus is a very, everyone knows this word, and in anything that takes skill, takes attention, you need to focus. So when it comes to playing League, there is, in any given second, there's 9 other players clicking. There's 9 other players moving. There are minion waves crashing. There are monster cramps spawning. There is something happening at all times. When it comes to focusing, and just the word focus is that no time in the game can be actual downtime. At any given moment, you want to have the best thought. Your thought for the next play needs to be the best one. Not just like, oh, I'll just keep doing this and see what happens. Because for most players, almost all players, not just for almost all players, even some high-low players, League is extremely coincidental as a game. As in, things just happen. Players play click some buttons, click their mouse, move here and there, and things happen. Things don't really happen for a reason, they just happen. Because if you have 10 players just clicking and pressing buttons, something will undoubtedly happen, and there are outcomes to things. If you want to improve and you want to achieve this and overall just get from one rank to the other, you need to make things happen yourself. And don't just be like, oh, okay, I'll just do this and then hopefully my teammate does that. No, you want to do everything in your power to do everything that you can make happen at all times, every given second. Again, I feel like that's what I do really, really well, is that in any given game, I am actively doing the best thing that I know how to do. And I have an example here. Just before, I was watching my good friend Elite 500, I was watching his stream. So, he's a challenger player, he's a great player, and of course he's playing off-roll and off-champ here. Oh, but look at what he does here.
Here's the thing. I have... Oh, fuck, he got me. I have lethal tempo.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I'll say something in his chat in a second here.
Redemption is a hollow wish.
I was going to say, yeah, I was thinking about it as well. I was just thinking about it. I'll run him down with lethal.
Yeah, so he spoke really fast there, but I said in his chat, I said that that was a ghost angle. Right? So the ghost angle happens
Oh my god.
now. So this is him losing focus. This is him not being decisive. So right now he is lethal tempo Nasus. Silas starts E, goes almost under his turret. Obviously level 1, he has no other spells left. He has nothing left. He has Ghost and he's playing an auto attacker with also lifesteal to keep his HP get his HP back up all the time. So the Silas can't actually contest. He has ton of movement speed, ton of attack speed, good DPS. So he doesn't do it. Silas is dead here. Either Silas is dead or he loses almost all his HP and overall just makes it so much harder for Silas to lane here. At least Silas has the flash or he has to just base and TP. This is an obvious ghost angle. So
Oh fuck, he got me. I have lethal tempo.
when I asked him about it, that this was a ghost angle, listen to what he says.
Yeah, I was thinking about it as well. I was just thinking about it. I'll run him down with lethal.
So he says he was thinking about it, but he didn't do it. You see? So I thought this was like a perfect example of what I was just talking about, that making the best play at any given second. Like you need to be ready to make like a different play, the best play at any given second, not just like when the Silas E's you at level 1. Don't get flustered and just like do an auto Q.
Here's the thing.
And then another auto, and then just like kind of give up and be like, oh, you know, oh, okay. That's okay.
But I don't know. I think it's fine.
But I don't know, I think it's fine. That's what he says. And that's the thing. That's the comment that I wanted to get to. Because again, he's off roll and off champ. He just doesn't necessarily know. He said that he was thinking about it, so he had the idea, but he just didn't go for it. So he wasn't decisive. He said that he was thinking about it, because when I asked him, he said he was, and I believe him. But he doesn't do it, so he misplays, okay? But here's the real issue, what he says.
But I don't know. I think it's fine.
I don't know, I think it's fine. But that's literally like the killer of improvement. That's the killer of being an amazing player, of saying, I don't know, I think it's fine. It is fine. He doesn't lose the lane, he doesn't even lose anything. But he could have made a very, very, very good play here. Again, he could have potentially even won the lane of this play if he just presses Ghost and lethal tempos him down. So that's what I was getting to, and that's what my point is that at any given time, you want to make the best play possible, and don't fall into the mentality that, oh, okay, it's fine. There's no fine plays. Fuck fine. Screw fine. Make the best play. Don't satisfy yourself with like, oh, this was an okay play. Or yeah, well, this was good. No, it needs to be the best play at any given time. You might not know what the best play is, but again, in the game, you need to be as ruthless as you possibly can. Go for the best play, because even if you know what the better play is, players still satisfy themselves with an okay play if it's less risk. That happens all the time when players, like, they know a better play or the potential better play, but they don't go for it. Why? Why is that? Why don't they do that? To me, it's stupid, because that will make you not learn. That will make you not actually win as hard as you could, because it's about making the best play at all times, not just like doing okay. And that is why I do this. That is why I'm capable of doing this stuff like this like all the time, that I will generally like stomp the best players on the server. Not just win, but stomp them consistently, because I will not satisfy myself with okay plays. I will go for the best play, and that is how you should play as well. Don't satisfy yourself with anything other than the best. And if you don't know what the best is, learn what the best play is. Keep trying to test things. Well, from the previous point as well about like the difference between playing to improve and playing to win is that when you want to learn things, you need to actually try things out. When it comes to like that clip that we just saw, like Nasus pressing Ghost and pressing Lethal Tempo, if he presses it, no matter what the outcome is, let's say it's a bad outcome. Let's say it was a bit worse of a situation, whatever the situation would have been, just a bit worse, and it's not good. Then the next time that situation or a very similar situation would happen, he would know that, okay, I need a bit of a better situation than this for it to make it work. But you wouldn't know. You don't know unless you go for it. People use this term limit testing, and it is a good thing. So for me personally, I used to be a normal game player from like season 2 to season 6. So I only played normal games pretty much. I played a very small amount of games of ranked every season, like barely any, and I was just playing normal games. And in those normal games, I was just fighting all the time. I didn't care. I was fighting all the time. Oh, it went wrong. Well, screw it, you know, unlucky. Now I know it's not gonna work next time. And then I just keep doing and doing it and doing it, and then you will learn what works and what doesn't. And eventually you will find that very fine line that, okay, that's what's gonna happen when I do this. I'm not saying that, oh, okay, go play a bunch of normal games. You can do that if you want, whatever practice environment you find the best, but the point here is to just test limits. Don't only focus on things when they go wrong. Also focus on things when they go right. So I think that's another very important concept, is that players will only really focus on what they just did or what just happened if it went wrong. If it goes wrong, they're like, oh, okay, that went badly. I will avoid that in the future. But if it goes right, they kind of accept it and just be like, oh, that was great, nice. And they don't really put more thought and effort into thinking like, okay, why did it just go right? They just simply kind of, because we as people, we just kind of assume for things to go well. And when things go well, it's like, oh, okay, you know. But when things go bad, it's like, oh, despair. And these like difference in emotions kind of make us focus more on the things that go wrong. And it's very important to focus on things when they go wrong. It's very important to focus on bad things because then you want to avoid those things that went bad. And that's very important to do. But it's also very, very, very important to focus on things when they go right. And that will also make you learn so much more as a player. Well, about the go from one play to the next, like from the going for the best play possible, I want to add to that you want to, again, go from one play to the next, keep the best play going, like every second, keep the gameplay like flowing. Like, don't stop. It should be like a stream of water just like going down a slide. And it just keeps going. Nothing will stop it. You just go from one play to the next. You get a kill, you recall, you go back to lane, and then you're thinking like, okay, what do I do next? Don't just be like, oh, wow, I got a kill. Nice. Now I'm in a good position. Okay. No, you instantly think, how do you advance that lead afterwards? What do you do with that kill that you just got? So yeah, don't satisfy yourself with anything and just simply keep thinking about what to do next. Early game is always most important, no matter what. Even if you're playing a scaling champion, it literally doesn't matter what champ you're playing. Early game will always be the most important part of League. No matter what role, no matter what champ, it's all irrelevant. Early game is the most important part. So if you're a scaling champ, you want to have a good early game so you're allowed to scale. You want to have a good early game that allows you to get to that late game where you have scaled. And if you're an early game champion, you want to really focus on your early game. So you can abuse being strong in early game because late game you're not as strong. Early game is something that people are very lazy in often. They just don't focus as much on early things as they could. And this is a very huge thing. This is such a huge thing about League, is that people are lazy with how they think. They will just not instantly, as soon as the game starts, they will not think about how to win. Legit, it should be like that. As soon as the game starts, loading screen ends, you will instantly need to be thinking about how to win. Do you want to invade? Okay, what do you do level 1? What do you do level 2, 3, 4, 5? Obviously, everything changes. You don't want to plan too far in advance, but early game is the most important. Again, there's not much else to say about that other than just focus as soon as the game starts and make sure that your early game is good. I just said about like level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and what I just realized that I actually didn't write down is I think there is a lot of that people abide by, which is very bad. I don't think you should play League of Legends ever conceptually, and you should always play it depending on the current variables that are present in the game. And what I just like conceptual playing is like, oh, okay, I'm playing X champion against X champion, and this matchup I will only win at level 6. You know, that's how so many players play. Is that okay? I need to get level 6 to win. No, that's so. It frustrates me when people think like that. You should never ever think of the game that way. When everything changes everything. When one thing changes, that can open up so many things. Like, okay, the enemy just missed a singular minion worth of experience in lane. That can already change your all-in window. That you are getting that level earlier. So even though you're like in a matchup that, okay, at level 6, I'm in a good position to win. No, they missed that one minion, and now you hit from level 3 to level 4 first, and now you're fighting level 4 versus level 3, and now you can fight. Even though your strong point against whatever champion is in the enemy team is at level 6, you can even potentially fight earlier, because now you have a level advantage. But I see so many players that have like this idea in their head that, nope, I need to wait for level 6, and then even if they're level 4 versus level 3, they will not even trade. They will just play pacifist and just sit there and be like, nope. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like every second you should make the best play possible happen. Not fall into these conceptual things like, okay, I need to wait for this level or this item or yada yada yada. Always look for the best play available, no matter what. Based on the current variables. What level are you? What items do you have? What level is the enemy? What champ is the enemy? What items do they have? Etc, etc, etc. All these things. Everything. One thing that I would want to say as well is keeping your leads is another thing. I've coached a lot of people, and I think the most common thing I see is I will look at like a silver or gold player or something, and they will do pretty good in lane. They get like even 3-4 solo kills, and I'm like, wow, this game is going great. Amazing. How are you even gold, bro, if you're doing like this? You're stomping this guy. You're doing amazing. And then the game timer like hits 15 or 20. And then they die like 3 times in a row. And then I'm thinking like, why did you just do that? We just lost everything. The game is suddenly way harder than it has to be. And then when I asked them like, okay, what was your thought process here? And they just don't really have any. So about keeping your leads is obviously like early game, and getting leads is the hardest and the most important part. But that's still not gonna end the game. You need to keep that lead, build on it, potentially, and keep it till the enemy nexus explodes. Because that's how you win the game still. You still need to blow up the enemy nexus in their base. So even if you're as fed as you could possibly be at 5 minutes, you need to keep that lead to keep yourself strong, to make yourself actually be able to win the game. So when it comes to keeping leads, you need to like raise the value on yourself. Of course, like you need to think of yourself as being stronger, but stay realistic. A lot of players also, they get fed and then they get an ego. They start thinking like, oh, I can do everything. Oh, I can do everything. Like, no, I'm just gonna go on 1v5. No, you always need to keep yourself level-headed, stay calm, stay flowing, like the stream down the fucking slope. Just be level-headed and go for good plays. Don't go for stupid plays. Stay focused. Even if you're fed, that doesn't mean you're God. That doesn't mean you're gonna automatically win the game. Stay focused. Don't go 1v5. Unless it's a good play to go 1v5. This also works the other way around, which is that I see this problem a lot as well, even on good players, is that when they get fed from lane, they just kind of shut down. In lane, it's very clear what you want to do. You want to last hit minions, you want to trade sometimes, you want to go for kills, you want to hit the enemy turret. It's super, literally bronze, iron, even your dad, you come say like, Dad, come watch me play this game, you explain it to him in 5 minutes and he will understand this concept already. Like, the concept of laning is so easy and everyone knows what the objective is. But once laning phase ends, we're talking about like keeping our leads past laning phase, it gets much harder because soon the map opens. Everyone starts running around everywhere. Objectives are becoming much more important. And then you need to start thinking like, okay, how do I use me getting fed from lane really well? This is a very broad thing. And I'm talking about every single role and every champion in the game. This doesn't just apply to one thing. This applies to everyone. Everyone wants to keep building leads. And you still want to actively look for the best play possible. As in, make something happen. Don't shut down and don't just keep doing something that's okay. If you have a lead, you need to think of yourself as a strong individual because you are. And you need to do something with that. Don't just shut down and be like, okay, I'm strong, I got out of lane. Because the amount of times I've seen someone get strong from lane, they're fed, they have good stats, then they lose the game, and then they're like, oh, my team is so bad, look how well I did in lane, but I didn't win. Because you didn't do anything. You did nothing. You got 5 kills in lane, and you low-key got outperformed by the enemy laner because they actually did something, even though they were behind. You were stronger, and you did nothing. Just again, as a concept, this is a very much a duh moment. But make sure that even though you are fed, you are strong, potentially you have played well so far. Even if you're fed, that doesn't mean you've played well so far. But if you got fed, no matter how you got fed, it's time to start using that. And don't just shut down, stay active on the map, make sure you go from one play to the other, make plays happen. Especially like relative to your strength. If you're not fed, then look to your teammates. Look to your teammates because again, if you can't make plays on your own, if you can't be the frontliner, if you can't be the damage dealer, then look to your teammates for help. Support them. And be like, you can be decisive and make your teammates do things like, okay, let's go here. I can engage for us. I can be the front line. I'm kind of useless. You guys can carry me with damage. Let's go right now. Make that happen. Make stuff happen. And this is about like keeping your leads and playing like mid game and stuff, conceptually. And then it's like late game about like ending the game. So whenever you reach late game, again, in low ranks, late game is hell. Watching low rank late game is painful to watch, basically, because no one really does anything. What I just talked about, that no one really does anything, even in professional play. The joke like NA-ARAM, also NARAM, that's no joke. Even when you watch pro play, like supposedly amazing players, professional players, they will just run mid and just look at each other and be like, hey, what's up, man? Let's just sit here and do absolutely nothing. This is great. When it comes to late game, I want to say that you should always keep an open mind, but you need to be extremely decisive. So in late game, again, individual kills matter so much. And when it comes to late game, again, you want to make very decisive decisions because enemy is most likely not making them. Like, let's say everyone's full build. Someone just like, let's say a Blitzcrank flash hooks. As an example, flash hooks an enemy, gets one shot, you instantly get to play 5v4. And that can easily, instantly end the game. But let's say this was the same situation at like 15 minutes, right? Blitzcrank flash hooks, damage is much lower, less likely to become a kill. However, it might be a kill, but that's not gonna end the game. It's at 15 minutes. So that very decisive play at 15 minutes from the Blitzcrank flash hooking, despite it probably being a good play, it's not a game-winning play. You know, it's not going to end the game. But at that 40, 30, 30, 35, 40, 45 minute mark, Blitzcrank doing that decisive flash hook, same play he made at 15 minutes, can just straight up end the game. Just that one decisive play, going for that play, is what wins the game. So when it comes to late game, again, every single individual play matters more because respawn timers are so much longer and objectives are way easier to get and matter more. The consequences of everything is just much higher. Keep a cool mind because you have to understand the dire situation that if you fuck up, you can solo lose the game as well. But stay decisive. Keep thinking, keep an open mind, keep thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go for this or this or this, whatever plays are available. Don't just default like, okay, let's just group up and just sit here and wait for something to happen. Keep thinking like, okay, how can I make myself be the game winner here? Maybe you're playing ADC, you're playing Ashe. You're like, okay, I'm gonna find an angle to ult that guy right there. Or if I'm playing Tryndamere in late game, I will most likely be like, okay, how do I split push end this game? Or how do I get a flank? Because again, in late game, for example, for Tryndamere, for me it's very difficult to just sit and look at someone else in mid lane. You know, I don't really get to do anything with that. But again, that's what a lot of people do, is that they will put themselves in a bad situation because they're not keeping an open mind. They're like resulting into this tunnel vision play, this like very autopilot play that, okay, let's just group together and sit here and just do nothing. Again, some comps, that's the best play. But again, you need to think about what's the best play and not just go play ARAM by default. So again, open mind, be decisive, and don't tunnel vision. At this point, the game is over. Game is over. You won, you lost, whatever it may be. Out of game, it's important. What you do out of game can impact how you play your next game or how you improve. So there's things like, if you're tilted, like let's say you lost that game. It was that 45-minute game. You were blitzcrank, you flash hooked, you missed, you killed yourself, you died. It's unlucky. You lost. You might be tilted. And your reaction might just be like, oh, screw it, I wanna queue next. And then you tilt queue next and you're pissed. Take that split second to think to yourself, okay, is this the best idea? Me wanting to win, because again, we talked at the very first thing we talked about this, like wanting to win. Before the game, we want to win. We made it clear we want to win. After the game, you missed that flash hook, you lost the game, and you insta-queue next. Think to yourself, okay, am I in a position right now, mentally, and maybe gameplay-wise, to win the next game? Like here. So I lost quite a few games here. So these were some of the first games that I played on this account. This account, the very first game this game played, by the way, 75%, it was already in Master MMR. Just a little brag that this win rate isn't like stacked from some low elo games. This was instantly Master Plus. So here I lost 3 in a row. And obviously stats don't always mean anything, but I remember these games still, even though they were 2 months ago, I remember them. I played really well. I played really well in all of this. Enemy top was getting destroyed in all these games, but my teammates were just absolute garbage. They played really bad, but I didn't let that stop me, because when you play games, you need to be fair and think like, okay, if I won or I lost, why did I win or lose? And how did I play? And should I stop playing? Should I take a break? Should I just keep playing? What should you do? And for me, it was like, I'm not playing bad. I might be a bit frustrated that I'm losing, but at the same time, I'm thinking it's not really affecting my gameplay. I'm going to keep playing well. And there we go. You need to be fair to yourself and think that, okay, am I playing bad? Why am I losing? Should I queue next? Do I even want to win the next game? Yeah, just have that bit of reflection. I don't play the game unless I feel like actually full-on winning. I don't play the game otherwise. And I go into every game, like I said at the very start of this, I go into every game with the idea that I will care more about winning than anyone else in the game. And then there's like reviewing your gameplay. So I never really do this personally, which is watching your own replays. So if you play a game, it's good to go back and look at your mistakes and look at the good things. Like I said before, is that you also want to look at the good things that you did, good and bad. So don't only focus on the bad things. If you did something really well, you played an excellent game, you might think like, oh, well, I don't need to look at that. It was an excellent game. I don't need to go look back at it. But if it was excellent, if it was that excellent, you want to go back and you want to look at it and you want to look like, okay, how was this game so good? How can I do this again? And that can even make you learn more than like looking at a game where you did really bad. It can be useful to look at your own mistakes. Even if he looks back at his game, I'm sure they can see mistakes, but they will obviously, like, because they're bronze, they will most likely miss a lot of things that they're doing wrong. But I think at any rank, people can still look at their own mistakes and the things that they do good. And it's like when to play, like I've talked about it a bit already, it's like, if you truly want to win, especially if you want to be very consistent in your gameplay, only play if you want to win. Only play if you're ready to put in all the things that I talked about caring to win, about being ready to make the best plays possible at all times, keeping a cool head. All these things that I'm saying is that if you're not ready to put in all of that, if you don't care about everything that I've just said, but you're still thinking that, oh, I want to win, then don't play. Again, League is about trial and error, right? And playing a lot is a very important thing when it comes to improving in the game. Playing a lot is so much. Like, play as much as possible as you still feel, as long as you still feel like it's productive. So again, I don't play the game as much as other streamers. I have a bunch of accounts. I don't play this little. This was just like me try-harding really hard on an account. So I definitely play more than I do here. But I still don't play as much as other players do in high-low for sure. Others play way more than I do. And again, that can be like a curse and a blessing. It kind of makes me care more because I'm not spamming as many games. But at the same time, I feel like if I played more, maybe I could improve even further. Maybe I could unlock even more of my skill. Maybe I could understand things better because you can always improve. And I am not a perfect player. Everyone makes a ton of mistakes. Faker makes a ton of mistakes. I make a ton of mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I could click better. I could react better. I could push better waves. I could hit the turret faster. I could get more kills. Everything. I could move on the map better. Just everything. Everything could always be better. There's no perfect player. So find the right balance with like how much you play and when you should play. So I'm not saying you always need to be, oh, I need to feel 100% to win or play League of Legends. I'm not saying that. But you still want to be in a fit enough mentality that you still want to win. Because wanting to win is where everything starts. That's why I started this video with that, is that you need to want to win. Truly want to win. Not just be like, oh, I'll go play and I would prefer if I would win. Because that's how it is for most, is that they prefer that they would win, but they don't actually like full on want to win. I feel like you watching this, you will most likely think afterwards that, oh, I knew all that. That's not even a shocker. Like maybe you didn't know all that. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you didn't. But the point of this was to say these things out loud and state the obvious, that you will truly like internalize it. Like knowing it is different, and internalizing and applying it these are two very different things. And I truly think that if more people applied these concepts that I've been talking about to their gameplay, it will unlock their brain about the game. They will look at the game in a different way. They will learn so fast, because that's what happened to me. I feel like I got good at this game so fast. I started this game in Season 2. I didn't play in Season 1. Season 2, I didn't really play ranked. Maybe like 10 games, but again, I don't count those as like playing ranked, because there's just not enough to count for any sort of real skill bracket. And Season 3, I got Diamond. I played a few hundred games in Season 3, and that was my like first season where I actually played ranked, and I got Diamond. And that's very high for your first season. Again, then I started playing just normal games. And then I was like, well, screw it. Rank time again, and Challenger ever since. It's about applying yourself. I don't consider myself to be like, ooh, I'm so smart, I'm so good, look at me go. I'm proud of myself and how good I am, but I feel like so many people are capable of this, doing the same thing that I did. You don't need to be a Chunda one trick, you don't need to be a Jax one trick, you don't need to be a Darius one trick, you don't need to play top lane, you don't need to do the same things that I did. You just need to apply yourself and apply these concepts, what I've been saying, to your gameplay no matter what you play. I think a lot of players can be better. Fundamentals. These are fundamental things, fundamental concepts. Aloy's term alone there. That guy invented the word fundamentals. But so if you are again very interested in, I'll talk about this a bit, it's like you found that champ, you found that role, and you're really looking for getting better. Even though applying all these things that I talked about, you just still find yourself stuck and you're thinking like, oh, well, I don't know what to do. And that's, you know, it can be rough. You can think of watching other players play. So figuring everything out yourself can be difficult. You can watch other players play. There are a lot of streamers. There are a lot of educational videos. You can maybe get coaching. Find coaching is potentially good too. Depends on the player. Some players are easier educated, or they learn easier than others. But to me, it shouldn't be necessary. I think applying all these things and just applying yourself in the game and just thinking and actively thinking, like actually thinking, actually trying to win, I don't think you need any of that. At least I didn't. I never got coached. I never really tried to look at others and how they play. It was just that trial and error, focusing on myself and using these mindset things that I've been talking about and these conceptual things about the game in general, like how I look at the game, how I treat the game, and that's how good I got. So again, I can only talk about like how I got good. Others might be different, right? I'm just talking about like what I've been doing, how I did this, and how I've been doing things similar to this, like for years already. So that's my way of doing it. Yours can be different, but yeah, that's all really I have to say. Hey, I just want to say thank you so much for watching the guide. I hope you learned something. Let me know if there is something more that you would like to see from me. Maybe like some more gameplay specific things, like what to actually do in game, as in like when to look for fights and like what waves to push, like very specific things, maybe like Trinda specific things, top lane specific things. Let me know in the comments, or if you would like to see content like this, more content like this, or what do you guys want to see. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. I appreciate it, and yeah, see you guys in the next video. Peace.